Welcome to Dreamland Sleep. My name is Alice, your host, and I will be taking you on your journey tonight. The city of Sparta, nestled amidst the mountains and valleys of Laconia, basked in the glory of ancient Greece. Whitewashed buildings shimmered under the intense sun, their columns and pediments bearing witness to the grandeur of the age. Olive trees swayed, and the sounds of the market echoed with life. Its people, robust and fierce, were ruled by a sense of duty and pride. At the heart of this kingdom stood the royal palace, home to Queen Leda, a woman of such ethereal beauty that even the gods took notice. The skies above were a vast expanse of blue, marred only by the lazy drift of white clouds and the occasional bird. But today, something else graced the heavens. Zeus, the almighty king of the gods, had his eyes set below, and what he saw stirred something deep within him. Leda, with her hair flowing like a cascade of midnight silk, and her eyes reflecting the mysteries of the cosmos, was attending to the royal gardens. Every movement was poetry, every glance an artwork. Her fingers danced over the blossoms, and as she moved, her flowing robe painted ripples of grace in the air. Unbeknownst to Leda, she had invoked a passion in Zeus, a longing that he had seldom felt. In his divine realm, where eternity was both a boon and a curse, such fleeting moments of desire were rare. It was her purity, her mortal charm, contrasting so vividly with the eternal figures he was surrounded by, that ensnared his heart. But how could a god approach a mortal, even one as divine as Leda? The annals of time were filled with tales of godly interventions, seldom ending well for the humans involved. Zeus knew he had to tread lightly, and so, casting off his imposing visage, he took on a form that tread the fine line between vulnerability and allure. Transforming into a majestic swan, white as the snows of Mount Olympus and radiant as the dawn, Zeus descended from the heavens. He aimed not to terrify, but to enchant. The gardens of Sparta, a riot of colours and scents, were suddenly quiet as the swan landed gently on a clear pond, its reflection mirroring its perfection. Leda, drawn by the sudden serenity, approached the water's edge. Their eyes met. The swans, deep and wise, held stories of the cosmos, while Leda's were curious, yet cautious. She reached out, her fingers grazing the soft feathers. A connection, electric and profound, jolted through them. In that instant, two worlds, the divine and the mortal, intertwined in a dance as old as time. The sun began its descent, casting a golden hue over Sparta, turning the gardens into a land of shadows and mystique. As the night approached, Zeus, in his swan form, and Leda shared whispers, tales and moments that would change the fabric of myths forever. For when dawn broke, the consequences of their union would manifest in the most miraculous way. Leda's womb nurtured not one, but 2 eggs, gifts from the divine embrace. And from these eggs, when the time was ripe, emerged 2 sets of twins. The first held Castor and Pollux, the latter of whom bore the spark of immortality, a gift from his divine lineage. The second unveiled 2 girls, Clytemnestra and Helen, the latter destined to be so beautiful that she would one day ignite the fires of the Trojan War. As the infants cried out their first breaths, the cosmos itself seemed to shift, acknowledging the birth of beings who would forever straddle the worlds of gods and men. The tale of Castor and Pollux had just begun, and with it, a saga of love, brotherhood, and destiny. Sparta, in all its might and glory, remained oblivious to the epic tales that were set into motion within its walls. But time, the great storyteller, would ensure that the stories of these divine twins would be sung and retold, echoing through the corridors of history and myth forever. In the heart of ancient Sparta, a bond was formed that would stand the test of time, transcending the very boundaries of mortality. This bond was not forged in the fires of battle or through royal decree, but in the silent chambers of Queen Leda's palace, where two brothers, Castor and Pollux, came into the world. Born of divine lineage, with Zeus as their father and Leda as their mother, these brothers were set apart from birth. While Pollux had been blessed with the gift of immortality due to his divine heritage, Castor was destined for a mortal life, a cruel twist of fate that would become the crux of their tale. Yet, this difference in their destiny only brought them closer. Their hearts beat in unison, a rhythmic reminder of their unbreakable bond. As the brothers grew, they complemented each other in every way. Castor, with his keen eyes and steady hands, became a master tamer of horses. The wild stallions of Sparta, known for their indomitable spirits, bowed before him as if recognizing his innate authority. His fame as a horseman spread far and wide, and Spartans would often stop in their tracks to watch him as he gracefully maneuvered the majestic beasts, making the most intricate of moves look effortless. Pollux, on the other hand, was a force to be reckoned with in the boxing ring. His punches were swift as lightning, and his movements mirrored the fluidity of water. He was unbeaten, and it wasn't just his strength that set him apart, but his strategy and quick thinking. Whenever he entered the ring, a hush would descend upon the crowd, all eyes riveted on him, waiting for the magic to unfold. But it wasn't just their individual talents that made them stand out. Together, they were unstoppable. They embarked on numerous adventures, from taming the wild beasts that threatened Spartan villages to representing their homeland in athletic competitions and emerging victorious. Their synergy was palpable. Where Castor was the calm strategist, thinking 3 steps ahead, Pollux was the passionate executor, diving headfirst into action. Their adventures often led them to foreign lands, where they encountered strange creatures and faced perilous challenges. Yet no matter the odds, they always emerged victorious, their brotherhood proving stronger than any adversary. Tales of their exploits travelled beyond Sparta, turning them into legends even in their youth. However, it was not all glory and victory for the brothers. The contrast between their mortal and immortal natures was a constant shadow that loomed over them. Castor, aware of his impending mortality, often grappled with existential thoughts. He would gaze at the setting sun and wonder about the fleeting nature of life, while Pollux, with eternity ahead of him, tried to understand the weight of forever. During their quiet moments, when they would camp under the starry skies during their adventures, they would often discuss their destinies. Pollux, ever the protective elder brother, would vow to shield Castor from any harm, to ensure that they would never be separated. Castor, on the other hand, would remind Pollux of the beauty of the present, urging him to cherish each moment they had together. But it wasn't just philosophical discussions that filled their nights. They would often reminisce about their childhood, the mischiefs they got into, the lessons they learned, and the bond they forged. They recalled the days when they would race across the vast meadows of Sparta, their laughter echoing across the plains, and the nights when they would sneak out of the palace to explore the mysteries of the city. The people of Sparta adored them. They weren't just royalty, they were their heroes, their pride. Children would play games emulating their adventures, while the elderly would narrate tales of their heroics around the fireside. However, the true essence of their bond was not in their victories or the adulation they received. It was in the silent moments, the shared glances, the unspoken understanding. It was in the way Castor would pick up a fallen feather and hand it to Pollux, reminding him of their divine connection, or how Pollux would carve figures of horses in wood, a tribute to Castor's love for them. As the years passed, their bond only deepened, the looming threat of separation making each moment more precious. They became a symbol of brotherhood, their tale echoing through the annals of time, a testament to the enduring power of love and kinship. In the bustling city of Sparta, amidst the grandeur of palaces and the chants of victory, a tale of two brothers was being written, a tale that would be told for generations to come. The grand halls of Sparta were adorned with intricate tapestries, each weaving a tale of heroism, bravery, and valor. In one secluded chamber, beyond the luxurious corridors, a beautiful maiden gazed upon her reflection. This was Helen, often whispered about in hushed tones as the face that would launch 1,000 ships. Her beauty was unparalleled, a living testament to the divine genetics that ran in her blood. But beauty, as she would soon find, was both a blessing and a curse. As Helen stood lost in her thoughts, shadows played at the periphery of her vision. Unbeknownst to her, two men observed from a distance, admiration and desire evident in their eyes. They were Theseus, the legendary king of Athens, and his companion Pirithous. They had travelled to Sparta under the guise of friendship, but hidden intentions churned in their hearts. Theseus had heard tales of Helen's beauty and was determined to make her his own. Nightfall brought an air of mischief. As the Spartans celebrated a festival, the sounds of laughter and song filled the air. The revelry provided the perfect cover. Under the shield of darkness, Theseus and Pirithous made their move. Seizing a distracted Helen, they sped away from Sparta, their precious cargo in tow. By morning, Sparta was in chaos. The disappearance of their beloved Helen was a wound to their pride and honor. Among the distressed voices, two stood out in their urgency and determination: Castor and Pollux. The bond they shared with Helen went beyond mere familial ties. She was their sister, a part of their very soul. The abduction was not just an affront to them, but a challenge, a dare to retrieve what was rightfully theirs. The twins wasted no time. They mounted their horses, gathered a few loyal men, and set out towards Athens, driven by a blend of rage and desperation. Their journey was fraught with perils, navigating through treacherous terrains, facing highway bandits, and overcoming physical exhaustion. They kept their singular focus: to rescue Helen. As they neared Athens, they relied on their cunning as much as their might. Infiltrating the city under disguise, they began their covert search for their sister. They would frequent taverns, eavesdrop on hushed conversations, and even bribe local informants, looking for any clue that might lead them to Helen. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, but their determination never wavered. Their efforts bore fruit one fateful evening. As Pollux wandered through an alley, he overheard a soft, melodious voice that tugged at his heartstrings. Following the sound, he stumbled upon a secluded mansion. Peeking through a crack in the window, his eyes met a familiar sight. Helen, her face a mix of defiance and sorrow, was singing a lullaby they had often heard in their childhood. The sheer relief of finding her was momentarily overwhelming. Wasting no time, Pollux relayed the discovery to Castor. The twins devised a plan. Under the cover of night, they would infiltrate the mansion, confront Theseus and Pirate House, and rescue their beloved sister. The darkness provided the perfect veil for their operation. Using their skills, Castor with his proficiency in stealth and Pollux with his unmatched strength, they penetrated the mansion's defences. The guards were no match for the divine twins. Each obstacle they encountered was swiftly and efficiently dealt with. Their progress led them to the central chamber, where they found Theseus, Pirate House, and a defiant Helen. The ensuing confrontation was fierce. Words were exchanged, threats hurled, and swords drawn. The air was thick with tension, but the twins, driven by love and duty, would not be deterred. In the midst of the confrontation, Helen managed to slip away, ensuring her safety. Seeing their prize escape and outnumbered by the twins' might, Theseus and Pirate House beat a hasty retreat, their plans foiled. The reunion between the siblings was poignant, tears were shed, and embraces exchanged. Helen, ever the symbol of grace and strength, expressed her gratitude and relief. She spoke of her time in captivity, of the courage she had mustered, and of her unwavering faith in her brother's love and commitment. The journey back to Sparta was one of celebration. Upon their return, the city rejoiced. The streets were lined with grateful Spartans, their cheers echoing the twins' heroism. Helen's return was not just a victory for the royal family, but for Sparta as a whole. As the celebrations continued, Castor and Pollux stood side by side, gazing at the horizon. Their bond, already strong, had been further cemented by this ordeal. They had faced adversity and emerged victorious, proving that love, loyalty, and determination could conquer even the mightiest of challenges. In the heart of Athens, under the shadow of the mighty Acropolis, the bustling city hummed with life. The marketplaces echoed with the haggling of merchants, while children ran in the narrow streets, their laughter echoing like sweet melodies. Yet amidst all this vibrancy, a darkness lingered. for in a guarded palace the abducted Helen of Sparta was held, her beauty and spirit eclipsed by the walls of her captivity. The brothers, Castor and Pollux, having heard of her whereabouts, made their way stealthily into the city, donning the clothes of ordinary Athenians to avoid drawing attention. They had a singular mission: to rescue their beloved sister. "Remember, Pollux," whispered Castor as they navigated through the maze of Athenian alleyways. "We must remain unseen. If word reaches Theseus of our presence, it could jeopardize Helen's safety." Pollux nodded, his eyes scanning the surroundings, every muscle tensed, ready for action. "We retrieve Helen and get out as swiftly as possible." They had gathered intelligence from local informants, and with a detailed map of the palace, they identified an underground passage leading into the heart of the fortress. The entrance was discreetly tucked behind the Temple of Athena, under the very nose of the city's divine protector. As the twins descended into the tunnel, the weight of the earth pressed down, a tangible reminder of the risks they were taking. The dim light from their torches flickered on the walls, casting elongated shadows that danced and twisted with every step. The air grew cold and damp, and the only sound was the synchronized breathing of the two brothers and the echoing drip of water. Emerging into the palace's depths, the brothers encountered guards, sentinels of the labyrinthine prison. But Castor and Pollux, trained warriors of Sparta, made quick work of them, their synchronized movements a testament to their lifelong bond and training. Castor's expertise with the sword paired perfectly with Pollux's immense strength, making them an unstoppable force. As they delved deeper into the palace, they finally reached the chamber where Helen was held. The door was heavily guarded, but nothing could stand between the twins and their sister. With a sudden burst of energy, they overpowered the guards, their love and determination fueling their strength. Inside they found Helen, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and despair. The reunion was emotional. Tears streamed down Helen's face as she embraced her brothers, her saviors. "We've missed you," Pollux whispered, holding Helen close, his voice choked with emotion. "And we'll never let harm befall you again," added Castor, his protective instincts in full force. But the reunion was cut short by the approaching footsteps of Athenian soldiers, alerted by the commotion. The brothers realized they had to leave, and fast. "We need a distraction," said Castor, thinking quickly. He grabbed a torch and set a nearby curtain aflame. The fire rapidly spread, causing chaos and panic among the palace guards. Using the ensuing confusion to their advantage, the trio made their way out, retracing their steps through the underground passage. But upon emerging, they found themselves confronted by an unexpected obstacle: Aethra, the mother of Theseus. Recognizing the significance of the moment, Castor, with a swift move, took Aethra captive. "A just compensation for the wrong done to our family," he declared. Aethra, though clearly fearful, held herself with a regal dignity befitting her status. With their path now clear, the twins Helen and their newfound captive raced out of Athens. As they distanced themselves from the city, the towering Acropolis receded in the background, its marble columns gleaming in the setting sun. But the trio didn't look back. Their thoughts were only of home, of Sparta, and of the celebration that awaited them. Upon their triumphant return, the city of Sparta rejoiced. The streets were lined with cheering crowds, and flowers were thrown at the feet of the heroes. Helen, once lost, was now found, and the brothers, once again, had proven their valor. In the midst of the jubilation, however, a somber Aethra stood, a poignant reminder of the complexities of their victory. But for now, Sparta revelled, for its beloved daughter was back, and the bond between the divine twins had never been stronger. The day's events, while victorious, served as a reminder of the fragile nature of peace and the lengths to which family would go to protect their own. As night fell on Sparta, the city of warriors slept soundly, knowing that in Castor and Pollux they had champions like no other. In the heart of Messenia, a region to the west of Sparta, were the mesmerizing twin daughters of Leucippus, Phoebe, and Hilaira. They were considered treasures of the land, not just for their breathtaking beauty, but for their wisdom, poise, and grace. In many ways they resembled the morning sun, giving light and warmth to everything they touched. As the priestesses of Artemis and Apollo, they were highly revered in their community. Their connections to the gods made them even more desirable, not just as women but as symbols of divine favor. Their betrothals to Lynceus and Idas, the cousins of Castor and Pollux, were widely celebrated. Lynceus and Idas, though not as famous as the divine twins, had their own streak of heroism and were known for their strength and cunning. The couples, as seen by the people of Messenia, were perfect unions, embodiments of power, nobility, and divine blessings. The entire region anticipated the grand wedding that would unite two of its most powerful families. Bards sang songs, and artists created sculptures and paintings, celebrating the upcoming union. However, fate had its own designs. During a festival dedicated to Artemis, Castor and Pollux were visiting Messenia as honored guests. They witnessed the ethereal beauty and grace of Phoebe and Hilaira as they performed sacred rituals. The sight was mesmerizing. The twins, accustomed to being the center of attention, found themselves irresistibly drawn to the priestesses. Over the days that followed, stolen glances turned into secret meetings, and whispered conversations grew into intimate moments. It wasn't just their beauty that captivated the twins. It was their wit, their wisdom, and their spiritual connection to the divine. Castor and Pollux, enchanted by the allure of the forbidden, fell deeply in love with the sisters. Phoebe and Hilaira, for their part, were not unsuspecting damsels. They were aware of the consequences of these budding relationships. Yet, they too couldn't resist the charms of the divine twins. The very air around Castor and Pollux seemed charged with a mystical energy. Their tales of heroism, adventures, and encounters with gods and monsters were intoxicating. The sisters found themselves torn between duty and passion. One fateful night, under the silver luminescence of the moon, Castor and Pollux decided that they couldn't live without Phoebe and Hilaira. They hatched a plan to whisk them away. The allure of a life filled with adventures and divine blessings seemed much more enticing than a mundane life bound by duty and tradition. As dawn approached, the twins executed their plan. Using the skills they had honed over the years, they stealthily approached the palace where Phoebe and Hilera resided. Silently neutralizing the guards, they made their way to the sisters' chambers. The priestesses, anticipating this very move, were ready. With a mix of excitement and fear, they joined Castor and Pollux, and together the quartet fled Messenia. As the sun began its ascent, casting golden hues across the land, the disappearance of the priestesses was discovered. Lynceus and Idas were devastated. Betrayal by their own blood was a wound deeper than any weapon could inflict. Their grief quickly turned into rage. The wedding preparations turned into war strategies. Bards who once sang of love now sang songs of revenge. Word spread across the cities and islands of Greece about the audacious act of the divine twins, Castor and Pollux, who were once hailed as heroes, now had their honor questioned. Their actions had thrown the delicate balance of power and alliances into chaos. The impending conflict between the two sets of brothers was not just about love or betrayal. It was about honor, reputation, and the very essence of what it meant to be a hero. The twins, now fugitives with their beloved, tried to find sanctuary. Every place they went, they were met with suspicion and hostility. The weight of their decision began to bear down on them. Castor, always the more contemplative of the two, began to have doubts. He wondered if their impulsive act, driven by passion, was worth the destruction it was causing. Pollux, ever the optimist, believed that love would find a way. He held on to the hope that once the initial anger subsided, they could find a way to reconcile with their cousins. However, as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that a confrontation was inevitable. Lynceus and Idas, with an army behind them, were on a relentless pursuit. The land of Greece held its breath, awaiting the clash of titans. Phoebe and Hilera, caught in this whirlwind, were torn apart by guilt and fear. They loved Castor and Pollux, but they also mourned the life they had left behind. The looming war weighed heavily on their hearts. As the narrative progresses, the boundaries between love, honor, and duty blur. Each character is forced to confront their choices, their desires, and the consequences of their actions. The stage was set for an epic showdown that would determine not just the fate of the characters, but the very definition of heroism in the annals of Greek mythology. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the Grecian sky with shades of amber and scarlet. A slight wind ruffled the grass and made the trees whisper, as if they knew that a great tragedy was about to unfold beneath their boughs. In a secluded meadow, away from the prying eyes of the city, 4 figures stood facing each other, tension thick in the air. These were no ordinary men. 2 of them were the inseparable twins, Castor and Pollux, while the other 2 were their formidable cousins, Lynceus and Idas. Their dispute? 2 princesses and the ruptured bonds of family. Lynceus, with piercing eyes that legend said could see through walls, glared at the twins. "You have taken what is rightfully ours, Castor and Pollux. Did you think you could simply steal Phoebe and Hilaira from us and face no consequences? Castor, ever the calmer of the two, tried to diffuse the situation. Lynceus, Idas, this isn't the way. We can discuss this, come to some agreement. Blood need not be spilled over love. But Pollux, fiery and passionate, retorted, "They chose to come with us. Can you not see? Or have your legendary eyes failed you this once?" Idas, not one for long conversations, drew his sword, its blade shimmering in the fading light. "Enough talk. You have wronged us, and now you must pay." Without another word, the meadow erupted into chaos. The clash of steel against steel echoed through the air as the two pairs of brothers engaged in a fierce battle. Every move was calculated, every swing precise. They had trained together, played together, and now they were on the brink of killing each other. Lynceus, using his sharp vision, saw an opening and lunged at Castor. The blade found its mark, piercing Castor's side. Blood stained the grass beneath him as he fell, the pain evident in his eyes. Pollux, seeing his beloved twin struck down, let out a guttural cry. His grief fueled his strength. With a swift and deadly move, he confronted Lynceus, delivering a blow that sent him sprawling to the ground, lifeless. Idas, witnessing his brother's fall and consumed with rage, raised his sword high, preparing to bring it down upon Pollux. But before the blade could descend, a brilliant bolt of lightning cut through the sky, striking Idas. The very earth seemed to tremble as Zeus intervened, sparing Pollux from certain death. The dust settled, revealing a scene of devastation. Castor lay injured, his life force ebbing away, while Lynceus and Idas lay defeated. Pollux, sword still in hand, rushed to his brother's side, tears streaming down his face. "Castor, stay with me," Pollux sobbed, cradling his twin in his arms. Castor weakly lifted his hand and touched Pollux's face. "Brother, our fates were always intertwined. I do not regret our choices, our love for Phoebe and Hilaira, but it seems our time together on this earth is coming to an end." Pollux shook his head vehemently. "No, I won't accept it. There has to be a way. I cannot, will not, live without you." The evening breeze carried their words, their sorrow echoing through the meadow. Birds ceased their song, and the world seemed to mourn with Pollux. As night fell, Pollux held Castor close, their bond unbreakable even in the face of death. The tragedy of the evening was a testament to the depths of love and the price of passion. For in their quest for happiness, they had lost more than they had ever imagined. But as the stars began to shine, hope would emerge from despair, for the gods themselves were moved by the twins' bond. And soon, a choice would be presented to Pollux, a choice that would determine the fate of the Dioscuri and seal their legacy for eternity. The Spartan sun seemed to shine less brightly for Pollux. With Castor's lifeless body cradled in his arms, the weight of mortality pressed heavily upon him. The reality of their differing natures had never been more palpable. One twin, immortal and divine, bestowed with the eternal glow of Olympus. The other, as mortal as the fleeting moment of sunset. The bustling streets of Sparta grew silent, its citizens holding their breath, witnessing the heart-wrenching scene. For them, Castor and Pollux were not just heroes, but also the living embodiment of brotherhood. To see one without the other was unimaginable. Desolation gripped Pollux's heart. A godly existence felt meaningless without his twin. He was no longer the vibrant half of a duet, but a mournful soloist, his song echoing the hollowness within. Their adventures, their joys, their shared glances, all seemed like distant memories, fading fast. In his deep sorrow, Pollux raised a heartfelt plea to Zeus. "Father," he cried, his voice a blend of anguish and desperation, "take away my immortality. Let me join Castor in the realm of shadows. An eternal life without him is but an unending curse." His voice resounded through the realms, reaching the heights of Olympus. The gods, usually so distant and removed from mortal affairs, were moved by his desperate plea. It was a raw emotion rarely witnessed amongst deities. Zeus, looking down upon the scene, felt a fatherly ache in his chest. He remembered the night he visited Leda and the birth of these twins, one mortal and the other immortal. It was a twist of fate, a result of his own actions. He felt responsible, and perhaps, in this rare moment, remorseful. Descending from the heavens, a powerful yet gentle whirlwind signaled Zeus's arrival. The onlookers stepped back in awe and reverence, their eyes fixed on the divine spectacle. The god's voice, both thunderous and comforting, addressed Pollux. "My son," he began, "I hear your plea and witness your pain, but taking away your immortality is not a simple act. The threads of fate, once woven, are not easily unraveled." Pollux, tears streaking his face, looked up. "Then let me share it," he implored. "Let Castor and I share the gift of immortality. If I cannot join him in death, let him join me in life. Even if it's for a fleeting moment, I wish to see his face, hear his laughter, and share our adventures once more." Zeus, ruler of the gods, known for his firm decisions and often unyielding nature, was visibly touched. He pondered the request, considering the implications. The other gods watched intently, sensing the significance of this moment. After what felt like an eternity, Zeus spoke. "The love you two share is unparalleled. Such selflessness and devotion deserve recognition. I grant your wish, Pollux. You and Castor shall alternate between Olympus and the underworld. While one rests with the gods, the other shall rest in Hades' realm. In this way, you will both share in immortality, forever linked in life and death." A gasp of astonishment and relief spread among the gathered crowd. The very fabric of divine law had been altered by the sheer power of love and brotherhood. With Zeus's decree, a radiant light enveloped Castor's body. Life seeped back into him, his wounds healed, and his chest rose and fell with newfound breath. The brothers, reunited, shared an embrace that conveyed more than words ever could. The city of Sparta erupted in joyous celebration, their heroes restored to them, albeit in a manner they'd never imagined. However, the twins knew that this arrangement came with its own set of challenges. Every time one would ascend to Olympus, the other would descend into the underworld. Their reunions would be brief, their partings painful. Yet the sacrifice was worth the moments they would share, the memories they would create, and the legacy they would leave behind. As the day drew to a close and the celebrations waned, Castor and Pollux sat atop a hill, looking over Sparta. They reflected on the day's events, the choices made, and the future that awaited them. "We are forever bound by fate, brother," Castor whispered, "but I would have it no other way." Pollux nodded, his eyes glistening with tears of gratitude and love. "Our story, Castor, is one for the ages, a testament to the power of love over the constraints of life and death." And as the stars began to shine, two in particular seemed to shimmer more brightly than the rest, a celestial ode to the eternal bond of Castor and Pollux. The twins' saga does not end with their mortal deeds or their celestial arrangement brokered by Zeus. Castor and Pollux's legacy endures both in the skies and in the hearts of those they've touched. The constellation Gemini, a lasting testament to their bond, sparkles with life each night, allowing mortals to look up and remember the tale of two brothers who couldn't bear to be apart. Sailors in particular found solace in the story of Castor and Pollux. In a world where the seas are treacherous and unpredictable, the bond and determination of the twins became a beacon of hope. The twins were not only symbols of loyalty and familial love, but were also invoked as protectors. They were believed to have the power to calm the storms and guide sailors safely to the shore. Many a sailor, when caught in a tempest, would pray to the twins, hoping their combined strength might still the raging waters. Tales whispered in the ports spoke of ghostly apparitions of the twins, seen during the most violent storms, guiding ships away from crashing rocks and leading them through foggy nights. The festivals in their honor, known as the Anarchies, were celebrated in multiple regions of Greece, not just in Sparta, their homeland, but their tale had spread across the lands, resonating with many who heard it. During these festivals, youths would partake in athletic games, emulating the prowess and skills of Castor and Pollux, and prayers would be offered for the protection and prosperity of the city. Horse races were especially popular, a nod to Castor's exceptional horsemanship, and boxing matches honoured Pollux's unbeaten record in the arena. Their story was told and retold, ensuring that every new generation would remember the love and sacrifices of the Dioscuri, the sons of Zeus. Moreover, their story became a moral compass for many. It highlighted the ideals of selflessness, loyalty, and the true essence of sacrifice. In an era where gods often acted on whims and displayed a range of human emotions, from pettiness to rage, the tale of Castor and Pollux stood apart. Here were two demigods, one immortal and the other not, who showcased virtues that even gods sometimes lacked. Their decision to share life and death equally was a poignant lesson in the power of love over everything else. Many philosophers would later cite their story as an example of the transcendental nature of human or semi-divine bonds over the physicality of existence. There are stories, and then there are legacies. Stories entertain, evoke emotions momentarily, and might fade away with time. But legacies, they endure, they inspire, they become a part of cultural ethos, shaping beliefs and values. The Dioscuri, in their deeds and choices, created not just a story but a legacy. In the centuries that followed, as the age of gods and heroes slowly gave way to the age of reason, empires and philosophies, the story of Castor and Pollux found its way into art, literature, and scholarly discourses. Statues were erected in their honor, poets wrote verses extolling their virtues, and playwrights dramatized their epic journey from Sparta's grand halls to the starry canvas of the cosmos. Even as Hellenistic beliefs merged and evolved, and newer religions and philosophies began to dominate the Greco-Roman world, the tale of the twins continued to find relevance. They became symbols of duality, of light and shadow, life and death, love and loss. Their intertwined fates served as a metaphor for the interconnectedness of all things and the cyclical nature of existence. In modern times, when the tales of old have become myths, and myths have become mere stories, Castor and Pollux still find a place. They reside not just in the constellation Gemini, visible to stargazers, but also in the essence of stories that celebrate the indomitable human spirit. Their choice to be together in both life and death is a testament to the fact that some bonds are timeless, transcending mortal confines. In the end, the legacy of Castor and Pollux is not just about their adventures or their divine lineage. It's about the universal truths they represent, that love is the ultimate force, that sacrifices made for loved ones are the most noble, and that true heroism lies not in conquering foes, but in touching lives. As the night sky reveals their constellation, it's a reminder that in the vast tapestry of existence, it's the bonds we forge and the choices we make that truly illuminate our path.